Hello everyone, nubkeks here, welcome back to Nub Raids, and it's a long awaited video here today on the channel because today I'm going to be showing you Mother Cybele, a champion who is sleeper OP guys, a champion who is sleeper OP. I think a lot of the other content creators haven't really been talking about her. She was a fusion last year, and I think she's been really overlooked. Like you can see in my clan, actually, a few people are starting to use her. This is on hard Hydra. You can see Celsi over here. He's been throwing in that Mother Cybele in a nice, easy one-key hard team. And for me, I'm going to show you some of this today as well. This was my one-key hard team. We only did 23, so not quite as much as Celsi did this time around. But you can see Mother Cybele, she's doing really good damage. Really good damage. By the way, guys, check this out. Nothing to do with the video, but look at this. We got Fire Knight tournament started today. 5 simultaneous debuffs on the Fire Knight. 10 simultaneous debuffs on the Fire Knight. 10 simultaneous debuffs on the Fire Knight. Awesome. Clan quest done in one run of Fire Knight for the week. Boom. Done. Okay, so let's look at Mother Cybele's skills. But as we go into it, I want to just focus, first of all, on this A1 ability, because here's the thing, guys. Mother Cybele actually can do more damage than MAGNARR. Yeah? Than MAGNARR. You guys know MAGNARR? You guys heard of this guy? The guy that hits as hard as Trunda? You know MAGNARR? Considered like the hardest hitting HP-based champion in the game? Mother Cybele, she doesn't have the same burst damage. Let's not get that wrong, but she actually can outdamage MAGNARR. Alright? Check this out. So it's her A1, right? Mask of Dread, AoE attack, HP based damage, 25% chance of putting decreased speed for 2 turns. That goes up to a 50% chance. That's amazing. We'll talk about the utility of this after. Also gives her 15% turn meter. Let's just look at the damage first. Brace yourself for White Page. Okay, so these are the damage multipliers. So this is MAGNARR. His A1 is a single target hit, 0.23 HP multiplier. His A3 is a single target hit with a big 0.37 multiplier. That's 37% of his max HP is how much damage it's going to do. Now, Percussive Pound, this actually hits super hard. It's a 0.22 HP multiplier, but it attacks twice if an enemy doesn't have HP burn debuff. So for a total, it will hit for a total of 44% of his max HP. So it hits really hard. Mother Cybele, though, her A1 is an AoE with a 0.2 HP multiplier. Now, here's the thing. Here's the thing, guys. What happens if we compare them over multiple turns? Because she can do this A1 every turn. What happens if we compare them over multiple turns against 4 enemies? So let's say in an arena situation, more importantly, a Hydra situation, or obviously in things like Doom Tower waves, you're going to have 5 enemies, right? So it's going to be even more impactful. So MAGNARR, this is what he's going to do. On turn 1, he's going to do his big, massive 0.44 multiplier hit against all 4 of those Hydra heads in this case for a total of 1.76 times his HP multiplier damage. Now, I'm not factoring in critical damage and stuff like this. Actually, both of them have a 50% baseline crit damage multiplier, so it's actually entirely equal. MAGNARR has slightly more HP, but not enough to make a huge difference. Then in turn 2, he's going to do his, so I'm on the Mother Cybele page, but he's going to do his big single target hit for 0.37. And then on turn 3, he's going to do his just A1 for 0.23, which is going to give him a total of 2.36 times his HP damage across those 3 turns. The biggest chunk being like bulk loaded into that opener. Mother Cybele, what's she do? Well, she comes in. If we set her to only use her A1, turn 1, she's going to do 0.2 times 4. She's going to do 0.8 damage. She's going to be doing a little bit to every single Hydra head. Second turn, third turn, the same thing. And guess what? The total damage after 3 turns is 2.4. It's actually more than MAGNARR. It is actually more than MAGNARR. Now, a couple of things to add on to this. She gets 15% damage from books. MAGNARR comes in, Percussive Pound gets 30% damage from books, right? So he's actually going to get a bit more damage from books than Mother Cybele will, which will definitely push this back towards MAGNARR's favor. That is completely fair. Give him a good chunk extra damage. But, on the flip side, Mother Cybele is getting turn meter from this, so she's actually going to be going faster. But more importantly, because every single one of these is an AoE hit, in a situation like Doom Tower or Hydra, where you run her with War Master, she is proccing War Master and AoE every single turn, whereas MAGNARR is not, and that completely outpaces the damage from books to a radical degree, to the extent that, yeah, an A1 Mother Cybele is going to completely outdamage MAGNARR. So there's some food for thought, guys. There you go. Hopefully I've already convinced you that this is a champion that is worth re-examining, right? This is a complete sleeper champion. One that I think, yeah, like I said, most content creators have just completely slept on. Let's go look at the rest of her stuff here, though, because she has some incredible utility just in general. So Mask of Dread, we know this does really good, consistent AoE damage, but it's also giving you a 50% chance to place the big version of decreased speed for 2 turns in an AoE. This also makes her incredible for the Hydra boss, right? Decreased speed, one of the best debuffs you can bring to Hydra, slowing them down so you've got more time to get your stuff rolling, slowing down their turns, they take fewer turns, there's less time for them to eat your champions, you've got more time to break champions free. Because it's an AoE attack and she's firing it off so consistently, she can really easily get this on all the heads. Even with the Head of Blight cleansing them, she can still get it back out. She can get it onto the Head of Mischief, who can otherwise avoid single target attacks. She can get decreased speed onto him, which is amazing. And that turn meter fill is also really good. Now her A2 is also really good as well when it books down, and you do really want to book her out, right? She will work as a damage dealer without books pretty damn well. But when you give her books, that's where it doubles her chance of applying decreased speed, and you really want that, and it makes her A2 and her A3 really good as well. So her A2 Soul Shepherd, Revive on Death, and increased defense buff on all allies for 2 turns on a 3-turn cooldown. The reason that this is so good is that because she's going so quick with the extra turn meter boosts, she gets really good uptime even without a buff extender on increased defense and Revive on Death. Revive on Death is a more niche, it's a more niche thing, and we'll talk about some potential uses for that. Increased defense, though, it's a good source of this, again, for your Hydra team. Then Uncanny, and it's also a really good move in Arena. This is a great move in Arena, yeah? Then Uncanny Transfer. This is a weird move, 3-turn cooldown. And I would generally recommend that you could... She doesn't actually use it that much on auto, but what it does, it swaps HP with an ally. So if her HP is higher after the swap, so if she is low on health, and then she takes a high health ally and steals their health, yeah, then she will get 40% turn meter, increased speed for 2 turns, and she puts block damage on them for 1 turn. So this is actually... Honestly, it's not great if she uses it like that. If she uses it to save herself, yeah, she gets turn meter and speed, but it leaves your ally on low health and just with the block damage, so you really need some other way to save that ally, right? Some big source of healing so that they're not going to just get killed once block damage expires. Now, I think the better version of this is that if her HP is lower after the swap, it fills the target's turn meter by 40%, gives them increased speed, puts block damage on her, and also puts 2 15% continuous heals on her for 1 turn. I almost wish that she would never auto into this version. This one is so much better, right? So if she is high health, and let's say one of your squishy members is nuked down, they're almost dead, she swaps health with them, so it puts them high on health, gives them turn meter increased speed. Now she's low on health, but she has block damage and 2 continuous heals, right? So it's a better deal when you do it that way. I generally recommend, if possible, especially in Hydra or Arena, you could leave it on auto, but it's better really to take manual control of this and to use it when you're best set up for it would be my particular advice as just an emergency button. It can be very good in Arena and Hydra, but it's more of an emergency thing. And then she has a really awesome passive. Fully heals the ally with the lowest HP whenever this champion is killed. So funny enough, we actually do want her to die, which is also something that ties in with this uncanny transfer. If they somehow buff strip her and kill her, so something that could happen in Arena, it actually has some benefits. Or if she gets nuked down and killed in Arena, she fully heals the lowest HP champion. And then whenever she's revived, she heals all allies by 20% of their max HP and fills their turn meters by 15%. So whenever a reviver brings her back up, awesome, you proc this. It also heals herself as well. So she comes back from the Revive on Death on low health, but then she already starts topping herself up with Gravewalker, which is amazing. So she works really well with her Reviver. She also works really well with herself, with Revive on Death that she gives herself. So you can absolutely proc it that way as well. And then she has a speed in all battles. Aura. Now, the thing you're going to run into, right, is that she is a HP-based champion. And when we look at her base stats, in fact, let's flip over. Let's look at her base stats right here. You can see them. She's got 19,000 base health and 13,000 base defense. She also has insane speed, guys. 115 is completely nuts, right? But she has so much health and defense baseline, it's actually quite difficult for her to be the one that dies, which is what has informed this particular build. She's such an interesting champion. There are a number of different ways that you can build her that are all extremely, extremely effective. So what have I done? Let's look at the stats first of all, again, with these crazy base stats. So what I've done with the stats, I've done a couple of things, right? Which is number one, since her A1 hits really hard, and since you get such good benefits as well from her dying even, I'm basically building her as a damage dealer. I think that's a really good way to do it, but she's actually a very tanky damage dealer. So what have I done? Number one, we've cranked her speed up to about 220. She starts at 115, which is an insanely good base speed, like absolutely monstrous. So she's very easy to get to a good speed. You could even crank her up. I'd love to get her even faster than this, would be even better, but this is a great start. Cranked her HP up to about 60,000. I think that's a good number to be somewhat survivable and also to up her damage. Attack does nothing. About, 2,500 defense is fine, so that she applies increased defense to herself, which will push her up easily to the 4,200 marker, which is like one of those really efficient points. It's not a hard cap by any means, but it's like one of the points where it's most efficient in terms of damage reduction per point of defense to push up to and be really tanky for effective HP. So she's easily going to get there with increased defense, and she's got enough that if she gets hit without increased defense, she's not going to completely flop over. Then here's the thing, guys. 100% crit rate, and then cranking up that crit damage, okay? Resistance we've completely avoided, and we've given her a good chunk of accuracy. Actually, her banner is level 15. You can just barely see the 5 right there, because I ran out of silver. But yeah, 260 accuracy. I'd actually like to get this higher, to be honest. I like to push this up more like to 300 plus. And you might want to get it higher again if you're going into Brutal or Nightmare Hydra. If you were gonna, I don't know if you bring her into Nightmare, but for Brutal, you might want to squeeze out a bit more right there. Something to consider, okay? But yeah, this is what she's set up like. How have we achieved that, and what sets are we running on? Well, okay, here we go. I'm putting her in a Relentless set, which I think is a really good set for Hydra in particular. It's also going to be good in Faction Wars. It's also going to be decent-ish in Arena, but it has that very much a random chance. It might do absolutely nothing in Arena, which could be a big downside. But in Hydra, this works really well because she's moving quickly, and every time she gets an extra turn, it just gives her complete uptime and increased defense, revive on death for the rest of the team, and it just gives her way more damage and way more chances to decrease speed. So it's a fantastic, fantastic move, really strong. Perception then to hit these things. So coming in with this, let me show you some of these sets, because the sets are crazy. They have such a huge effect on her, and they do some awesome stuff. So first of all, I think this is another set to consider that's extremely good. Frenzy set, 4-piece set, 10% turn meter for every 5% HP lost. I think this set arguably might be even better than Relentless, to be honest, on her, doing this exact sort of build, which is we're going in and we're actually building her to smack. We're building her to do really nice damage. Frenzy, I think, works really well with that, giving her lots of HP. I think Frenzy set is going to be much better in Arena than Relentless, and it's still going to work well for Hydra, giving her extra turn meter, helping her just get more moves out. So Frenzy is a great option, and Frenzy is farmable. Relentless is not, so that's a really good option. I think Regen can be a good option too, if you just want her to stay alive. That could be okay. I don't super favor it, but I think it is good. Relentless, obviously good for those extra turns, especially in Hydra. That's amazing. You can actually run her in Savage. I know one of my clan mates, he hasn't unfortunately run Hydra this week. He did 30 million last week with Mother Cybele. She did 9 million on his key on hard Hydra, I think it was, and he ran her in a Savage set, ignoring enemy defense. It's the same theory. Yeah, it's the exact same theory as MAGNARR. Okay, it's the same theory as MAGNARR. If they're putting out consistently the same amount of AoE damage, Savage Cybele, she's not going to be terrible. Now, I do think the downside of this is that, unlike MAGNARR, MAGNARR has that upfront burst, so he just one-shots people in Arena. Mother Cybele obviously cannot do that, so the Savage set loses some value, but it's still going to do a surprising amount of damage in Arena and against the Hydra, where you're fighting high defense enemies. So Savage is actually something you can consider. Stun set, I think, is a very strong option for the Arena and for Faction Wars. 18% chance to play stun. She keeps pumping out these AoE A1s, so this is a phenomenal option. Downside of stun set, though, is that it does nothing at all in Hydra. None of them can be stunned, so it's a dead set for Hydra. But for Arena, this is an absolute nightmare to fight against, and she doesn't even need accuracy, right? Sets just just it's the chance to place the buff. It just works. Taunting set could do something similar, provoke. That could be a very good option as well. It's much more consistent than stun. So taunting set, I think, is another really good option. There's so many good options, guys. Retaliation, chance to counterattack, not a bad option either. I wouldn't put her in stalwart, reducing AoE attacks, because you do kind of want her to die. She doesn't need reflex. Look at all these options. Like, obviously, Immortal is fine to put a bit on. That can be good in Divine Speed. Avoid Swift Parry. Deflection could be okay. Chance to reflect or deflect debuffs. That can be an okay option. Perception's really good. Oops, I clicked the wrong button. If you need the accuracy, Perception's a good one. Now, I do think that we got a couple of really good options here at the end. So Guardian, I think, is a really strong option. Absorbs 10% of all damage dealt to ally champions and heals every turn. I think this is really good for her as well. Where this will get her killed much faster, right? If you want her to actually get nuked down, this is where this can happen much more, especially if you crank her crit damage up. I do believe that this works like ally protection, where the damage she takes will apply her, if it's a critical hit, it applies her critical damage modifier instead of the person who did it. So she's going to die pretty quick, like especially against Hydra, she's going to apply her own crit damage modifier. So you build her with high crit damage. I think it still works really well though, because she'll get nuked down pretty hard, but she'll heal back up. She can potentially swap HP with people. When she dies and gets revived, it's actually really good for your team, and it's going to really help your team stay alive. So I think you can absolutely run a high crit damage Guardian set. I think is actually pretty cool. And yeah, then I think that Stone Skin is also a pretty decent option as well, which is giving her HP, defense, resistance, and the Stone Skin buff. This would make her, this is like an arena set really, where you just don't want her to die round one. That can absolutely work too. I think that's also a good option. So you've got strong options right there in terms of the sets. And really you can tailor her to what particular area you want to use her in and what particular team you're running her with as well. With my gear here, so I'm going for, you know, speed, crit rate. You can see I can actually glyph these up when I get more glyphs to get more speed out, which is awesome. HP and speed here. We got crit damage on the gauntlets, HP percentage on the chest, and speed on the boots. So if you can't hit these stats, you could obviously just put her in crit rate gauntlets, or preferably even, you could even put her in like HP percentage gauntlets. You know, there's a lot of stuff you can do. I'd say you definitely want that HP percent chest, and you definitely want those speed boots really to crank it up. Crit damage gauntlets if possible, if you can hit the crit rate. If you can't, that's okay. You can put her in something else. That's fine. Now for the rings, there's actually some interesting stuff happening here. So unfortunately, I don't have any good HP rings. This one is decent though. It's got HP and defense percent. So it's actually a good ring. Not bad. Crit damage on the neck. And then I have her in an accuracy banner. Now, to take her up to the next level, we're really looking, unfortunately, I don't have good ones. Like I've got, this one's not bad. It's defense based, but for this PvE build, right? So for Hydra, for faction wars, that sort of stuff, to really crank her up, I'm in the way, but a revenge accessory, I'm super in the way. Oh God. you can kind of see 5% chance to counterattack when hit. That is going to crank her up. You put her in 3 revenge accessories, 15% chance to counterattack, and it's her A1, which is her big damage skill. 3 revenge accessories on a damage dealing Mother Cybele is going to be huge. So I'm hoping, I've already unfortunately bought all of the accessories from the clan shop this week, but I'm hoping for some good revenge accessories. That's going to escalate her damage hugely. I have some, actually this one is accuracy, but she'd lose 17 speed, which I don't want to do, and it doesn't have HP percentage substats, unfortunately. But you know, like that's going to massively up her damage. Then for the arena, you'd be looking for reaction sets, right? 25% chance per piece of reaction to turn a critical hit into a normal hit if she's hit before the first turn. So that would enable her to survive. Which is certainly an option for arena. I would definitely lean much more, I will be honest, towards, I really like building her with damage and with revenge accessories. I think that's the way to go. For her masteries then, we have gone for, this is the sort of the Hydra killing mastery. So we're going down the left hand side of the attack tree. We're getting War Master. Chance to do bonus 4% max HP against bosses on every single A1. This is huge because her A1 is AoE. So against Hydra in particular, for faction wars, this is really, really good. Even against dungeon bosses, if you're bringing her into dungeons, really good. Then we're going down the left-hand side of the defense tree. We're getting some fun stuff here. So we're going to get her a bit of a heal whenever an enemy's healed. That's kind of nice. We're going to be getting her actually solidarity, giving more resistance to everyone for each buff placed on them by this champion, right? Because she puts 2 buffs on everyone. That's an extra 10 resist for our team, which is quite nice. And then we're going to get her Retribution chance to counterattack when she loses max HP. And Deterrence, which is once per turn, a chance to counterattack whenever Stun, Sleep, Fear, True Fear, Freeze, or Petrification goes out. Great for the arena and really good for Hydra as well because of the head which places Fears and True Fears. Let's see her in action, shall we? Let's dive in. Okay, so the first place we'll take a look at her. We're here on turn 69. Nice. Let's take a look at Mother Cybele in Hydra. So this is a clip from the run that I was showing you near the start of the video, right? This ended up doing, I think, 23 million damage on the hard Hydra, and Mother Cybele is coming in here and she's doing a huge amount of damage. There's a particularly strong combo, that's why I skipped to this point in the run, that's going on here. You can see her going there, she gets her AoE hit out, we're getting all these counterattacks, and she actually has an extra turn even saved up already, and boom, she goes in again. We have all these counterattacks coming in, and look at her turn meter just get boosted. What's happening is Inquisitor Shamael is in here, and what Inquisitor Shamael does is whenever someone gets a fear applied to them, he removes it and boosts their turn meter. And he also counterattacks whenever debuffs go out. So we put him in against this Head of Torment on the left here, right? And basically, as soon as Mother Cybele does her AoE attack, it hits the Head of Torment, she gets True Feared, Inquisitor Shamael removes it, boosts her turn meter, then Inquisitor Shamael shoots that Head of Torment because the Head of Torment placed a debuff. Inquisitor Shamael then removes the True Fear for himself, boosts Mother Cybele. He then attacks again, all this sort of stuff. So it kind of goes through this this loop, and Lydia comes in as well, and Lydia also counterattacks when fears are applied. You can see the counterattack pop over her head. She's going to trigger this as well, and effectively it all comes together to give Mother Cybele a whole bunch of extra turns. So she's going to just keep pumping out these A1. She's going to keep pumping out her A2, putting increased defense and revive on death on everyone, so keeping your team safe and pumping out really good AoE damage. And look at this enemy team here. Look at these Hydra heads. There's one head that she's weak hitting on the far right that does not yet have decreased speed, but decreased speed, she's keeping it up on every other head, which is amazing. It is so good. So this is a very particular Hydra composition, which I think works really well. Mother Cybele in the lead, giving us speed aura, and also absorbing all the turn meter boosts from Inquisitor Shamael. Very powerful combo. She's giving us decreased speed debuff, increased defense, revive on death on ourselves. We have on the far right Umbral Enchantress for block buffs on the enemy team. Really good as well. She also is a defense-based damage dealer, so she hits much harder thanks to that increased defense from Mother Cybele. Lydia plus Inquisitor Shamael, really good combo with her as well. Lydia putting decreased defense and weaken on the enemy team, increased speed and strengthen on you, so helping you stay alive, and that decreased defense and weaken, helping all those AoE hits from Mother Cybele, all the AoE War Master procs do more damage. And then, yeah, we talked about Shamael giving you that single target nuke to smack down the head that eats somebody. And obviously he does the Head of Torment cheese here, which is really good as well. Brogni's a great combo. He comes in, gives you block debuffs. He gives you a shield, which does some healing. He gives you a bit of HP burn. So Brogni's fantastic. And then we have a Demitha in as well to extend our buffs and to heal us and protect us from damage. And that's basically how it works. So one fun thing about this comp, we have no one to revive. We don't have a traditional reviver, I should say, but we do have revive on death from Mother Cybele. So sometimes in this particular team, sometimes people will die. Like, it's possible for Shamael to die because I don't have him in a lifesteal set yet. That's one of the re-gears I want to do. It's also possible that, you know, maybe Mother dies if she outruns the buffs, which she will do with the extra turns and the turn meter boosting. She'll outrun the buffs. But that's okay because she just revive on death and sits back up, and then Demitha can top them back up. It gives you a chance to come back. So yeah, Mother Cybele sort of replacing a reviver to a certain extent in your team, which is pretty cool. And yeah, so this is nice. You can see we absolutely rip that Torment head apart, right? It's kind of disgusting. Here she goes in. Boom. She's smacking. She's going to take an extra turn. Here she goes again. Boom. Smacking. Just constantly pumping out this damage. It's so nice. So this rotation, I think next rotation 4 as well, won't have Head of Torment in the starting rotation. But in rotation 1 and rotation 2, Head of Torment actually does start, which makes Mother Cybele really good. But the nice thing about even rotation 3 and 4 is when you go to the higher difficulties, especially, and you do start killing heads and they come back with something different, when Head of Torment comes in, she gives you a really powerful option to basically turn Head of Torment into this extreme battery for your team, right? And the really great thing is that even with Head of Mischief potentially stealing buffs, even with a Head of Decay potentially cleansing debuffs, because she's applying decreased speed every single time, right? She can just pretty much keep decreased speed on everyone. Just thanks to Head of Torment, which is super, super good. I think Rotation 2 is probably the best affinities for her, with her Force affinity. But yeah, there you go. It gives you an idea for Mother Cybele and Hydra and just how effective she can be. Now, this run ultimately falls apart because of this combo. Head of Decay, Head of Mischief basically wipes nearly every single run for every single person. There's not much you can do. So you can see this has popped up, and then we're already just hitting right now basically that one key damage for hard with this particular composition. So this comp has huge growing potential, right? If you did not have Decay and Mischief show up together, this key could have pushed way higher. I think we could easily push up to that 30 million mark. I think easily with this team comp. But you just need to not have those two heads come in tandem, because this is what happens. The head cleanses the debuffs, and then he steals and applies them and nasty stuff. Unfortunately, my Umbral Enchantress isn't fully booked, so he missed the block buffs on the Head of Wrath, which is probably what kills us, actually, because he's gonna get resist debuffs and increase attack and all that horrible stuff. So that was a bit unlucky. That's definitely a bit unlucky right there. But yeah, there you go. So that's her and Hydra. Let's go check her out in some arena. Let's do it. Okay, unfortunately, there's very few teams at the moment that I'm seeing in Gold 5 where I can put together a good team for Mother Cybele. There's one team on this page I think we can target, but basically where I think she's good, and the sort of team that I think she is good in is a team like this. I've been, by the way, a video on SkyTouch Shaman coming soon, guys. Coming soon. Let's whip out the Mother Cybele team. So I think that a team like this is basically where she is going to thrive, right? This is where she's going to thrive. Which is her in the lead, giving you a speed aura. I think that's a good option. You could alternatively put Helior or someone like an Ursaga Warcaller in the lead as well. And this is kind of like a budget version of what I think would be the best team. But Mother Cybele, then I think the best thing to put with her is obviously a Duchess. Shocker. I think Rector Drath is your budget option. Rector Drath, unfortunately, only has a single target revive. She doesn't have the AoE revive. But yeah, basically a high resistance, high health, fairly tanky healer that can revive you and keep you going. Like I said, Duchess gives you block debuffs. She has an AoE revive, so Duchess, an AoE damage reduction from AoE hits as well. So Duchess is by far better, and I think they combo very well together. It becomes very annoying to try to actually kill that team, right? Because Mother Cybele Force affinity, that's an awkward affinity to attack. Your magic affinity nukers have a good chance to weak hit. She's going to come in, put revive on death, increase defense on everyone. She can swap HP. This Gravewalker thing continually proccing. Very good combo. Helior, unfortunately my Helior is not booked right now, but I think Helior basically does with this passive very similar to what Ursaga does. And the idea of this is that, well, this team is not super quick. This is not a go first team. So he's hopefully going to help us stay alive when we are nuked down. The weakness of my team right here, I have Helior and Stone Skin, so he's going to be fine. Unfortunately, I don't have any reaction pieces for Mother or for Rector. So that's a big downside. You just have to imagine with this team that if we did have reaction, we could live through some of these hits. But Helior comes in. He does have the advantage of being a cleanser as well, where he can cleanse us and put it on the enemy team. He can give us shielding. I really, really want to buck out Helior. I'm saving up bucks for him. Unfortunately, I've got to save up bucks for Mithrala Lifebane as well. But yeah. We'll do a video on Helior when I can, a proper one. Maybe we'll do a little do you want to see a little preview of him? You'll see some of him here, but I could talk more specifically about him in Stone Skin, even without the books on, if you want. But yeah, Ursaga Warcaller would be a slightly better version of this, and she could go in the lead as well. I think Vogoth is in here. He's not too bad either, but you're kind of open with what you want to put in this slot. Now, with this particular team setup with Vogoth, you can see the weakness of this team is our damage output's very low. So are we going to be able to fight like this team? We're not going to be able to fight this team. We're just never going to be able to kill them, right? We're never going to be able to kill a Duchess who's green affinity. It's just not possible. So he cannot attack this team. Sifi is also a huge issue because she puts out block debuffs and she does AoE healing. So we're never going to hit through that. We just don't have enough damage output. So we can't fight that team. We can maybe fight this team, it's possible, but basically you're looking to put her against more traditional speed teams. So this team, it's possible. We might get just nukes and killed, but essentially, I think where this sort of team is very good is up against a team that doesn't have consistent healing. So the only source of healing they have is Arbiter. Now, they are going to go first, and we don't have reaction. They have a buff strip, so we might just die. It's possible, but if we live, if we survive, we have a chance. So, sorry, my nose is a bit itchy. Let's dive in, and let's see if we can make it work. They also, unfortunately, have block debuffs on a bunch of them. Okay, the stun comes in. They've hit him hard, but that's about it. So I think we might have a chance here. This comes in, the revive on death. She gets an actual extra hit out there, the AoE hit, which is kind of nice. Helior will hopefully cleanse us now in a second. Come on, Helior, do your thing. Get a turn at some point, buddy. Here we go. He actually got revived on death. Helior comes in, cleanses the debuffs, and smacks. Look at this. Vogoth's getting beaten up, but he's going, and boom, the AoE hit comes in from Mother, and we've taken Arbiter down. Okay, she got revived again, but so did he. He got revived as well. Increased defense got stripped off. She put it back on. Increased defense is upping Helior's damage too. And look at this. This is pretty cool, right? Boom! Solar Blessing comes out, and Helior smacks them down. And look at that, guys. What do you think of that? Huh? What do you think of that team? Not too bad, right? Not too, because this is a scary speed team without reaction, especially. But you could see the theory of this particular team. Helior reducing our damage from debuffs, taking our debuffs back, transferring them onto the enemy team. Again, unbooked Helior, he gets like 30% more damage from books, guys. Mother Cybele with the increased defense, making Helior hit harder. And really one of the big things of this team is, and that makes it so interesting against speed teams, is that magic affinity is so popular. These are all force affinity, apart from Vogoth, which means that it really reduces the damage that's coming in, and they can potentially resist some of the debuffs at weak hits, yeah? And then they target Vogoth, in this case, and Vogoth churns out a ton of healing, and that's sort of the concept right there. And like I said, I mean, you put a Duchess in instead of Rector Drath, and this becomes a much, much stronger team. But yeah, Mother Cybele, the damage comes out, guys. This is what I'm saying. The damage comes out. And Helior didn't do too badly either. So there you go. I thought that was just, you know what? Well, like, I don't want to burn through my gems too much. I don't want to burn through them too much at the moment. And like I said, I don't think we could genuinely beat any of these other teams. We could maybe beat this team, but it's a bit sketchy, right? But it's possible. We don't have the affinity advantage against him. But yeah, it becomes a strong defensive option. If you have a Duchess, if you have reaction accessories, it becomes a lot better. So there you go. That gives you an insight into how she can potentially work. Then if we jump into Faction Wars as well, let me show you Faction Wars. Yeah, there you go. Pretty cool, right? Pretty cool. Pretty cool. So Mother, she's don't underestimate her in Arena. Like I said, my Mother is in Relentless, which it actually did proc in that Arena fight, and you could see the effectiveness of it. But a better option in Arena would certainly be Frenzy set would be stronger. I also think Guardian set could be a strong option with her as well. All that sort of stuff, right? There's tons of options right there. Here we go, though. We're going into Faction Wars. Let's actually talk about Faction Wars. One unfortunate thing, I don't know why they did this, right? But so many of the Knight Revenant champions are Force Affinity. In this case, we've got Thea, Rector Drath, and Mother Cybele, the focus of this video, even Verself the Grim here, all Force Affinity. And so many of the enemies, we've got these Martyrs who are Spirit Affinity. And the next wave, we've got Valkyries who are Spirit Affinity. But you can see we're smashing through this first wave all the same. I actually think Verself is missing some gear. I've been stealing gear off of him like crazy. Sorry to Verself. Thea is set up to use Hex Reaper because her AI is a bit wonky without presets on. But yeah, here we go. So this wave against triple Valkyries, kind of a pain in the ass. Mother Cybele, she's really good here. So there she goes. She gets the extra turn, and she's got decreased speed on 4 of the enemies already. She's getting that decreased speed out, and she's helping our team stay alive with this increased defense, this revive on death, which is nice. One fun thing, actually, is that because I have this particular team, my particular team is not very good at killing these Valkyries. We're going to get a lot of damage from the poisons from Tomb Lord. So actually kind of hilariously and weirdly, Mother Cybele, oh, did she do her health swap thing? She might have done. I wasn't paying attention. Yeah, she's got block damage, and she did. She swapped health with somebody. Did she keep Thea alive? Yo, go Mother Cybele. Keeping Thea alive. Not bad. So that's a pretty cool thing, too, for Faction Wars. But because she puts out so many buffs as well, it does actually give a bunch of turn meter to these Valkyries. So that's definitely something to watch out for. That could be a big problem for your composition, that you're going to decrease your turn meter and increase their turn meter due to Valkyrie passive. Now, for me, it's actually a good thing, because when they take more turns, it's going to let Tomb Lord's poisons just sort of rip through these guys. But it's definitely something to be aware of. It's something to watch out for. But yeah, this is the slowest part of the run, is this particular wave, because we don't have a buff stripper or a block debuffer on this team, so it's just going to take time for us to tear through. But you can see how tanky we are. Maybe I'll just edit it after we get through this wave. You don't want to watch us just beating on Valkyrie shields. So I'll be back in a second. All right, so we got to the boss. It's cute SpongeBob, like 3 hours later. We got to the boss though, and here we go. And Mother Cybele is actually really good against this boss, okay, for a couple of reasons. So number one, she's obviously going to help us stay alive through the boss's damage. That's good and all that. But the big thing that she's doing is, of course, by pumping out these AoE A1s, she's going to help us kill these side adds, which is really nice. And she's also going to be putting decreased speed, which is great. Really good against this boss. Because what's he do? Every 3 turns, he steals all of your buffs and puts all of his debuffs onto one of you, and debuff spreads, right? So he puts all these debuffs back onto us, and he steals all of our buffs. Then also every 12 turns, he swaps HP. So this boss is a real pain in the butt. Guess what? That decreased speed there comes from Mother Cybele. That's going to be slowing him down, which is going to help us wear him down really well. And she's also going to be helping us stay alive through all of this. Again, like it's not a super fast run. It's not a super fast run. We get really slowed down by those Spirit Affinity enemies. They're really nasty, but all these Force champions. But we're not in any danger. This is a super consistent team. This is like not 100% consistency. It's 200% consistency. Like you literally cannot fail with this team. It is insane. Okay, so unfortunately he did get his health swap off there. We can get lucky with Tomb Lord, because Tomb Lord can decrease turn meter with his Blight move. I guess it wasn't quite ready, or he mistimed it slightly, but you can get lucky and actually kill this boss really quick, where basically with Mother Cybele and with Thea, you actually nuke the boss down so quickly, then Tomb Lord fully depletes its turn meter if he casts Blight when it's below half health, and you can actually nuke him down really, really quick. Doesn't happen all the time, but it can absolutely happen. So yeah, there you are. We're going to be ripping through this though. We'll get through the boss. I'll show you the stats at the end, and we'll see how Mother compares, how much sort of damage she has put out over the course of this run. So let's see that. Okay, there we go. That is the end. So like I said, ended up being a slow run due to getting a bad reset at the end. We're kind of a little bit unlucky through the waves as well. So this is how Mother Cybele does. So in terms of her damage, like her damage is decent. It's not absolutely game-changing though, but it's a good solid amount of damage, right? She's obviously behind Tomb Lord. Tomb Lord does a ton of damage, and she's behind Thea. And we know that Thea absolutely claps. Thea would do more damage as well if she was at better affinity here, if we had another champion to apply Hex. Now, seeing as Thea no longer removes Hex with Hex Reaper, she is actually getting pretty good value out of the Hex Reaper move, with her own Hexes applying with her A1, but not as much as she potentially could. So she's obviously, Mother Cybele, obviously not going to do as much damage as a Thea does, right? It's just not going to happen. But she's still pumping out really, really solid damage, right? Really competitive damage. She's also doing a decent chunk of healing. I'm not sure if that is fully calculating her HP continuous heals. It probably is, but she's keeping the team alive, giving us increased defense, revive on death, and also, again, that decreased speed. You cannot overstate the value of it. We are a little unlucky that we didn't get the quick kill, but you could. And also, this is Relentless set, which is the more Hydra focused set. If you put her in a Guardian set, it would help your team stay alive even more. If, let's say, you had squishier champions, but champions that could kill through stuff faster. Even better, the best option for Faction Wars, without question, is a stun set. Put her in a stun set, and that's really going to help you get through those waves. Won't help you with the boss, but will really, really help you with the waves. So if that is your struggling point, Mother Cybele, fantastic option. Yeah, she'd do a little less damage than this. She wouldn't get as many turns, but she'd be putting out stuns, so you'd kill the Valkyries way faster. Like I said, I don't have her in a stun set because I want to use her in Hydra, where stun set doesn't really do anything. So yeah, guys, thank you for watching. By the way, I have just opened up memberships on the YouTube channel. So yeah, I've literally just put it out, but you can become a member of the channel. You get like a little icon beside your name that's going to upgrade. It's I've based it off it, well, not based it is right now the shards from the game. So you'll start off as a mystery shard, but then you'll be upgraded to ancient, to void, to sacred, sort of fun stuff like that. Priority replying to member posts. That's going to be very important to me, and seeing what members have to say. I think that's really valuable. Like if I come in and I see, oh, someone's been like a member for 6 months, they're a sacred shard member, like I know that person really cares about the channel, so that their criticisms, their feedback even, that becomes really valuable to me, and the stuff they want to see. It's something I try to do anyway. There's already a feature in there with comments. I've clicked into the wrong thing. There's already a feature in there with comments where I can see how long people have been subscribed. I already do that, so I thought membership is a cool way for people to help support the channel and support me and the content we're making here. And also for me to, you know, give more back for that. So it's very early stages right now, guys. I probably will expand it more, and obviously as feedback comes in and people let me know what they want to see and that sort of stuff, I will do it. At the same time, I don't want to have like whatever exclusive, like super exclusive account takeovers like for members only. I think that's unfair for regular viewers. I don't want to do that at all. But maybe it'd be a thing where like if we did like an account takeover stream, we'd always do at least one member, something like that. I don't want it to be super exclusive. I just want it to be a fun way for you to interact more with me and me to interact more with you without being exclusionary. But we'll see. Again, I've literally just opened it. I've set it up today. I still need to set up emotes and stuff, but I just said, hey, I'll let you guys know that it is there and it is something that you can do if you want to help out. But yeah, there you go, guys. Mother Cybele. It's been a long time coming, but here it is. Awesome champion. Really cool. I like her a lot. It does take 12 books. That's the one downside. Good chunk of legendary books, but I think with Hydra come out, she's definitely worth it. I'll see you all next time. Thank you for watching. Bye-bye.